Hi, I'm Vivian. I'm the founder of Snowball Tools, which builds mobile tooling and developer tooling because the space really, really needs it. A little bit about my background is I have kind of a weird one where I did 3 semesters of college before taking a gap year to intern. I interned at Apple and then I interned at Facebook. And then it was COVID and I decided to drop out to join Instagram full-time as a software engineer. And then at Instagram, I was working on feed, so in-feed recommendations, end-of-feed recommendations, multi-feed. And then I got pilled on crypto, like at NFT NYC, funny enough. And from there, built my first company, Dora, and now I'm building Snowball. Yeah, it's been an incredible journey, but all through the experience, I've been building in mobile for since I was 17, and now I'm 23, and I just feel like the infrastructure that exists in Web 2 for mobile doesn't exist in Web 3, and I'm just extremely passionate about bringing that, bringing the same level of infrastructure to Web 3 so we can actually bring it to the masses.
Amazing. I can't wait to dive more into that later on this panel. But I think a little fun fact that we can share with the audience is how'd you get into the space? How'd you find out about Web 3 and decide this is what you want to work on and build?
So for me, I started learning about blockchain in 2017 during the last full cycle, I guess, or maybe last one, I don't know. But during that time, I think a lot of it was just how do blockchains work? How do you construct a Merkle tree? A lot of the more technical aspects of it. And I didn't really get deep into any of the use cases. And I don't think there were that many back then either, besides ICOs and just more financial aspects of it. So after that, I just spent a few years doing traditional Web 2 engineering. And during that time, I did a little bit of mining, but didn't really do anything else. And later on, I think it was the next cycle when I started noticing, there's people actually building a lot of applications. There's DeFi, you started seeing NFTs, and I got interested into how those work and tried building some myself. And then eventually spent a lot of time doing that. And I was like, I should just go full-time into Web3, and then I joined my friend's startup, which was building a non-transferable token platform at the time. And I've been in the industry since.
I was at Instagram, building out, pretty much, I felt like I was building TikTok again for Instagram. I wasn't doing anything special. And then NFT NYC happened. I was pilled on crypto. I saw the apps in the industry, and how, and I felt like I was sick of building the same thing, not making a difference. But in crypto, you could actually make a huge difference building out incredible mobile applications. The future is mobile. Why haven't we caught up? Why don't we have incredible applications that we do in Web 2? Yeah.
So to, I guess, compare the differences between both of your Web 2 or traditional experiences and your Web 3 ones. Let's start with Vivian on what are the differences with either the tech or the tooling from going Web 2 mobile to Web 3 mobile.
Yeah, I feel like Web 2 mobile, you can launch an app and things are pretty much, you can launch an app pretty quickly. You going through the App Store review process is pretty easy. In Web 3, there are a lot of problems that come up. Everything is built in React Native, all the infrastructure, which is a wrapper. It's not the best. I think that consumers, if you actually, consumers are used to the Instagram, the Facebook, the Cash App. These apps are built natively in Swift and Kotlin, but in crypto, those, we don't have infrastructure for that at all. Everything is built in React Native. And so, first off, building out that infrastructure to enable great developers to come into the ecosystem, because there are developers in mobile specifically who will only build in Swift or Kotlin, and there's no infrastructure for that. Second off, when I'm talking to a bunch of these teams who are building in mobile, they're continually building. They're building in React Native, but they're not React Native engineers or mobile engineers. They just have React experience. But those are two different two different ways of building. They're transferable, sure, but it's not the same. There are engineering specific things that come into mobile.
Yeah, I think there's a similar experience in web development as well. There's a lot of trade-offs you have to make regarding, let's say, login, for example. So like when I was working at my previous company, a lot of the time we spent was thinking about how we want to do login. Do we just want to do like single wallet login? Do we want to allow for social login? If we allow for social login, how many wallets do we allow them to connect? And how does that affect the protocol? Let's say if we're doing a non-transferable token and people want to eventually consolidate their tokens into one account. So there's definitely a lot more thought that has to go into that. And on the other hand, I think in the back end, you also have to think a lot about how you store your data and what you want to put on chain and what you want to put off chain, and some of the performance implications of that. So let's say if I was building an application and I was always reading the data from on chain or from IPFS, that's really slow. And if I store too much, that's also increasing my gas costs. So I think there's a lot of different like paradigms that are different when you have to think about like how you're processing the data and how you're storing it. And then lastly, I think one of the things is around upgrades. So when you're developing in Web 2, you can just push out a change in the backend and it just like automatically reflects. You don't really need to do much, but I think when you're developing a protocol, you can make it upgradable, but people don't usually like that. And then there's also the like you have to get it audited, things like that. There's a larger process around that. And at Avalanche, especially with any of our network upgrades, there's a huge planning process and a timing process where you have to notify, all the validators and everyone who's running a node to make sure that they know that there's something coming up and that everyone's running the same version.
Right. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, can I, so I feel like I totally blanked out for a second, but yeah, for what Snowball is like really passionate about and thinks about is that like with accounts, like a little add on to that is that like with account abstraction coming out now, with auth login, like are we going to do MPC, like social login? All of these things are like the hot new topic. But everyone is building in a very, very simple vertical, right? Like somebody's building in authentication, somebody's building like account abstraction infrastructure, a company's building just like on and off ramp or like an on and off ramp aggregator. But nobody's really putting this together for like a set. Or like a Vercel where you can just go there. I want to build a blog and then I want to deploy it. I want a template for like let's say like an NFT marketplace. Like where does that exist? How do I think that needs to be built with like okay, I want to use Alchemy for my RPCs. I want to use Alchemy's AA. I want to use let's MPC social login and passkeys. Enabling that to happen seamlessly in one flow, and then you get to directly work on your product and build it out is just enabling developers to stop worrying about like putting the pieces together and making Frankenstein apps, making a seamless experience for users because they're they have an experience they're used to, just like they're used to like Stripe, for example.
Right, and maybe if we can give some context to the audience, if you want to do a quick intro of what Snowball does as well.
Okay, yeah, Snowball builds so we're building developer tooling to enable developers to get to build their products faster, because right now every single team, whenever they're building, they have to think about authentication. All right, which are we going to use? Are we going to use Privy? We're going to use Web3 Auth? We're going to use Dynamic? Or are we going to just do Wallet Connect? Okay. After that, they're going to do before it was EOAs, simple. Now there's account abstraction. Which provider do we use? Which paymasters, bundlers? And then we have to think about on and off ramps. Oh, but then are we going to write subgraphs? Subgraphs are slow. Okay, we're going to index in-house. And so all of these things, teams are doing in-house again and again and again and again. And you talk to these teams. So we're like this middleware layer where we work with Alchemy, we work with Lit Protocol, we work with Turnkey, we work with numerous other companies to essentially integrate it all into a stack and enable developers to focus on their product and build it and ship it and actually because they're spending way too much time in the nitty-gritty doing the same thing over and over again.
Right, so focusing on building.
Yeah, exactly. Actually getting to because the other parts are boring. Why struggle with the same thing over and over again when we could have templates that you can just start with, run with, and then you already have authentication figured out. You already have AA, very simple, implement this app in 10 lines, and then you actually get to focus on building out your product. Yeah.
All right, so we've got the solutions, and I wanted to dive. We touched on it a little bit just now, the challenges, but I want to dive deeper into that because I think it would offer a lot of insights to people that want to join the space or are currently building in it, what they might face if they start building out their own products on Web3. If you have maybe an idea of what the largest challenge you've faced building in this space, if you could share that, that would be really great.
Yeah, so I think that like right now, a lot of Web3 has dependency, like it's dependency hell when you're building in JavaScript and like NPM packages. It's like absolute, like one dependency is after another, and then like say you want to build something in React Native and you want to use this library, oh, but it's like reliant on like a okay, anyways, it's just a whole mess that you have to like go into like different libraries and either like fix that dependency for React Native and then like enabling that React Native to be wrapped so you can actually use it in Swift. I mean, not React Native, like that library to be, yeah, it's like there's a lot of dependencies on Node that shouldn't be, but are.
I think one thing that I could think of is probably around security. So I think in Web 2, there's a lot of good frameworks, there's a lot of tools around how do you build a secure app, how do you launch to production. You know, everyone kind of knows you have to have testing, some kind of integration testing, some type of, CloudTrail around like what actions are being performed, auditing around who's performing actions, permissions, things like that. And I think in Web 3, like, maybe because the space is so new, people tend to overlook a lot of those things that have already been done in Web 2. And naturally, yeah, for like contracts, you do have like auditing. And I feel like a lot of the times people forget that there are a lot of things that are battle driven and proven in traditional like Web 2 engineering and don't actually apply it all the way in the newer apps that we see. And the other thing I think is, along those lines that is a challenge is the dependencies you have, like similar to what you mentioned, but more around like, let's say like the recent hack around like Ledger, where it's,
oh my God, I had like a whole, like, I guess so many messages because we were like building it, like, yeah, just, it was, yeah, like.
A huge challenge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you can assume your application's fine, but then you start using all of these integrations, and it's hard to keep track of their upgrades, their changes, and a common issue we also see in the industry is just like phishing attacks. So people can just have everything built perfectly, but then just not have the right permissioning set. So like I think for SushiSwap, someone joined their team and basically just pushed the code. They didn't even have PRs or something, and yeah, that was like pretty surprising because that's a simple thing that I think has already been solved many times, but people just don't really follow the same things. I think also because the space is growing so quickly.
Okay, so besides security, what are other things that you think that we as a space could learn from the traditional industries?
Let me think.
Majorly security is the biggest issue probably.
I think, okay, simplicity. Like, I think developers are used to struggling. Like, they're just like used to like having to debug like issues after issue and then building their own solution to it, rather than like a tool actually working well or something like that. I think there needs to be like, yeah, there just needs to be so much tooling to be built like industry throughout, even in like writing smart contract. My roommate is a smart contract auditor, and she's like, yeah, I just have to like write write my own tooling because like the tooling that exists doesn't work, and like yeah.
I think
or not the best. Yeah.
Yeah, along the lines of that, I think kind of similar to what you're building already, where like every time you set something up, it takes a long time to just get all the dependencies matching. You oftentimes go back, like for me at least, whenever I start a new project, I often go back to like previous projects and just pick up their dependencies and don't actually upgrade, which kind of sucks too because you're not getting the recent changes or recent versions of things. And I think there could be more like services or even just SDKs that help with that.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like really I feel like having somebody who's actually helping, like we will keep it updated. We will like work on to enable like you to just actually like not have to go back to your project and then be like 10 versions behind with like It's like 10 different security issues that you have to figure out and then fix like other dependency issues that come up from upgrading. It's just like a whole entire thing. So it's, yeah.
Right, and like so solving those challenges are gonna bring on many more builders into the space, right? Like that's one of the main issues that we also have here is onboarding, not just maybe builders, but also users because, I mean, obviously it affects user experience.
I think yes, it's going to bring on more builders. It's also going to make it easier for builders to build better apps and then more better apps to come about. Because right now you kind of see like the same 10 apps being built. But if let's say you have template apps for all of that already, and anyone can instantiate it in like the click of a button, it's going to be the competition is going to be more fierce. And so I think this is like I feel like a slippery slope though, but like better apps and like more unique and like apps will come about because of that. And as an industry, we're going to see a boom. Like I see like the next billion users coming from Candy Crush. Like it's going to be a casual game. Mom and dad are going to play. They're going to like be eating what's it called? They have 10 lollipops or like something like that. And then, oh my God, these lollipops are worth 2 points. Points. $2. And then, they're onboarded onto crypto, and they don't even know they have a wallet. Make it so simple, so seamless. Login, authentication, the app, they don't even know it. Yeah.
So to take it also to the other side, once we solve all of these issues, what do you think will be challenges that future developers are going to face?
I think there's still challenges around scalability, and that's something that we'll continue to improve upon. You do see there's different L1s that try to solve like Ethereum's problem. There's different L2s, and I think in the future we'll see even more different types of networks to kind of be either specifically built for certain types of applications and optimized for those, or even just more tooling around how to kind of develop on different applications as well as make them interoperable. And I think you do see a lot more applications that are cross-chain, things like that, but then there's a limited amount of, I think, cross-chain messaging protocols right now, and even I think bridges, they don't work as seamlessly as they should. It still involves a bit of a learning curve.
Yeah, I can go on and on about bridges, but whoever figures out making bridging seamlessly and easy for users to understand and do will literally change this industry. It's definitely a big thing. Yeah. I think scaling. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm curious about your thoughts. Like you said earlier, once we have maybe these templates that make it easier to build better apps and we bring up that baseline of expectations, what do you see people developing or building? What would be like the state of development?
I think that it's endless. But I also see when we talk about a lot of these like Starbucks, for example, or any of these native apps, right? Integrating React Native into a native app is not it just doesn't make sense for them. But if we have this SDK that makes it super simple, plug and play, for them to be able to integrate tokenized assets into their ecosystem, I think enterprise customers will it will become into a daily lives of people without even them knowing it if you build the infrastructure correctly. And let's say we onboard one customer, one Starbucks or a big enterprise, that is how many millions of people. It's going to be. It's just like a snowball effect. Yeah.
I actually think it'll become more easy for developers to build because as we see over time, things get standardized. We're maybe a year or two ago, we're kind of in the Wild West where there's less standardization around how you launch certain things, and now people develop solutions and eventually translate that into a protocol that people continuously follow, and eventually you see that helping developers a lot because they don't need to think so much about the best way of doing things. If there's already some existing frameworks for that, and those evolve over time. I think a few years ago, or maybe last year, meta transactions was the popular thing for performing gasless transactions, and now everyone's on account abstraction. And I think, I think there's always going to be new ways of doing things, and someone's going to come up with it and make it into protocol, and then everyone's just going to follow.
Thanks for sharing it. And I want to dive into maybe, it's a little more, I guess, personal question, but what's something that you've built that you were really excited about, if you'd like to share?
I think kind of related to my last comment around account abstraction. So I built 2 versions of gasless relayers over the past 2 years. The first one was just a centralized server where you take in a transaction and you forward it to a predetermined contract on chain. And then eventually I built one for meta transactions, and which involves a more like frameworked approach where you deploy a forward contract and have some like on-chain like validation of the signature rather than off-chain on the server. And recently I've always kind of been interested in how we can abstract away the gas portion of interacting with a dApp. And recently I've been playing around with a lot of account abstraction frameworks. And one of them that specifically was, I think, Biconomies. And they have this session validation module. So in traditional Web 2, when you like logging in, you have a session token, and then you store that session token, and you reuse that session token as auth. And attached to that session token, you might have some permissions that say, oh, this user can have write access to this resource, or has read access to this resource. And basically, they translated that to an on-chain module that validates user operations, which only is possible through smart wallets and account abstraction, basically. So that was like something that I thought was really cool. And the application of that for I guess, when I was playing around with it was kind of for voting, actually. So I was thinking people having to vote on, let's say, any proposal online, it's like there's a lot of friction around having to connect their wallet, having to sign a transaction, and then if you're able to just have them sign a transaction and then specify, okay, I'm going to allow certain types of actions for a specified period of time, that's like basically making it a lot easier for people to participate in different protocols online and without having to worry so much about connecting their wallet every time, especially if they're on mobile.
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Yeah. What's something that you built that you were very excited about?
Yeah. So, before hiring engineers, I was building building our MVP alone. And so, what I was really excited about was that I built this year was this passkey MPC passkey authentication with an AA wallet, and so you can easily just essentially create as many wallets as you want, and then you can Igloo tools at XYZ. I think there may be a bug on the view thing right now. I need to fix when I get back, but and then I was able to build that what's it called? Okay, build that example app. Sorry, and then build out an SDK, a TypeScript SDK that enables you to integrate not just MPC passkeys that authenticate on Solana, Ethereum, as well as the Cosmos, but also so it's an for the EVM, it's just an EOA that signs for an AA wallet. But make that possible in less than 10 lines of code, and super simple and super seamless to build out this for your app. And then use this across what I'm really excited about is actually building this out so you don't actually have to bounce between your wallet and your dApp. You just are in the dApp. And you're able to assign transactions with passkeys, which is this new an extremely cool framework that Google and Apple. I mean, Google has been pushing it for years. Apple has finally adopted in iOS 16, and so you're going to see it across every single Web 2 app, and then Web 3 should follow because it's an incredible thing. Yeah.
That sounds amazing. I think for maybe our last question, we only have a few minutes left, but I wanted to hear a little bit more about what you do in the space outside of development. If there's anything you want to share. I think you shared a really cool story earlier.
Sorry. The first thing I did, I'm actually an InkDAO, so I have a tattoo of an ERC 721. You can also do a tattoo of an 1155. We recently agreed on that, the 1155, adding that. But yeah, it's just a Telegram group chat, but it's been really fun, and just a bunch of builders in the space. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really do that many fun things in this space, but I guess I'm part of BootsuDAO, which is one of the co-hosts for this conference. So I think one of the more interesting things I did was build a voting bot on Telegram that integrates with your membership token. And yeah, it helped us get a lot more people voting on,
A lot more.
on our
active.
proposals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for listening in on the panel. Thank you, Tracy, and thank you, Vivian, for sharing.